Rob, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your interest. I don't want to cut into our time, so just freeze our time for a second. I was just watching Salt Lake City. Have you seen the Jordan documentary?
Not yet.
Okay, you got to check it out because there's a whole episode about how hard it is to play at the Jazz in Salt Lake City because the fans are absolutely insane.
It's the loudest recorded noise in history of basketball.
Yeah, they're all like Phil Jackson's wearing earplugs the entire game, entire series. Anyway, I digress.
You have a weird connection to Salt Lake City, don't you? With I think one of the films you did.
Yes. Wow. I don't hear about that particular film very often at all. Yes. Where I played an elder, which was really fascinating for me. I can't remember the name of that movie. It was 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was. It had to do with.
No, I was in the church. I was on a mission. I was spreading the word, but I can't remember what the name of the movie was. Something Boys. Oh, I guess we'll have to IMDb it.
Yeah, we're both embarrassed because I brought it up and I should know the name of it.
Well, you know what? I don't know that you should, because if I don't remember it, then you shouldn't.
It was a life-changing event for many people, so they'll write in. And my gosh, thank you for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. What an amazing and very funny show that is.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a dream come true. I mean, we've been doing it now 14 years, and we are. You hear a lot of people talk about how these shows become family. Well, we are literally family. I mean, we're all married to one another, and we're all best friends.
It's so much like family. You fight at Thanksgiving. That's family.
Yeah. We're very, very close.
And now, let's talk about Mythic Quest, because this is one of those shows that's, really about behind the scenes of something and all that goes on that way. And what great comic fodder you have for that.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of getting into the gaming industry was really interesting for us. Just because I've never seen anything that portrayed it authentically. And I think the community felt that way. And people who don't play games, I wanted to make sure that we were making a show that they could watch as well, and that you didn't have to watch games or understand the gaming industry to get into the show. And we're finding that to be true.
And it's finding a really very, solid audience. I mean, I read some of what what your fans have said. The first couple of episodes, you're kind of introducing characters, but then it breaks loose and it's just hilarious.
Yeah. It's always interesting to release a show all at once, because what I've noticed is that people really love the show, but they say, oh, the first couple episodes were kind of like, they were kind of hard to get into, and I was just getting to know the people, but then it got really funny. I'm like, well, that's what a television show is. Normally back in the day, you would release one, people would watch it, they would think about it, they would go, oh, okay, and then they would have a second one, and then you were warming up into it. Very rarely. I mean, my favorite shows, save for like Friends, nobody watched for 3 years, right? Seinfeld, the greatest show of all time, like couldn't find an audience. Cheers
was going to be canceled at one time.
Yeah. So that's just a function of people figuring out what the show is, who the characters are. And so now all of a sudden you're putting all of the episodes out and people are like overwhelmed by it. But then what we're finding is that by the end, they're going back and rewatching it, which is great.
Now, with quarantine, though, you've taken a giant negative and turned it into a giant plus for you, because it is absolutely, it hits the mark. What everybody's kind of going through, and yet you're still going with the show. So it's congratulations on that type of thinking.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, the whole point of it was to get everybody back to work. Really, that was what we were trying to do. But we wanted to make sure we were doing an episode that felt like it belonged in the series, and that we weren't using our limitations as an excuse to make something that we didn't feel was on par with the rest of the show, that it still felt like it was just a storytelling device with which we wanted to tell an interesting, different story. And then beyond that, it was the hardest production I've ever been associated with. However, I would say it's probably the episode of TV that I'm most proud of. And it's just because of the ingenuity and patience and work and effort that an entire crew of people working together were able to accomplish.
I think somebody's going to do a motion picture this way. We're going to strap a camera to individual actors, and then everybody turns in their footage, and we cut it together, keeping social distance. So I think you're on to something right here.
We're trying.
Working with F. Murray Abraham has got to be butter.
Yeah. I mean, when we were going through the casting process, Jeannie McCarthy, who was our casting director, she said, "Okay, well, who are you thinking for CW?" And I said, "Well, we're probably thinking like an F. Murray Abraham type, like that would be like the type." And she's like, "Well, what about F. Murray Abraham?" I'm like, "Well, I don't think he would do it." And she's like, "Well, it's really good. Let's send it to him and see." So we sent it to him. He called me the next day and said, "I'm in."
Well, he's got an incredible sense of humor as well.
He does.
And again, what a professional he is too. I mean, to actually take on that role and then just make it his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And to be totally game for what we just did, you know, I mean, he had certain trepidations in terms of the technology and making sure that he could keep up with it, but he put in the work, and we had our tech departments walking him through everything, and he had a lot of patience with us and with himself, and turned in, as always, in a hilarious performance.
Now, in our final moments together, I know that you don't keep still. So what's on the drawing board? You have something new coming up? Are you working on a film or something?
You want more from me, Toscano?
I do.
We shot an entire episode in quarantine.
You're not working hard enough.
No, look, we're always thinking about that next season of Sunny. So that's what we're talking about now.
Well, it's a pleasure again to catch up with you and talk with you. And I want to leave you with this. That Mark Twain once said, "You can give a man a fish." That's all.
He was very wise.
He was very wise. All right, take care, Rob, and it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Pleasure to talk to you.